Hello and welcome. This month, we are talking all about mental health and dyslexia. So this month, we'll be shining the light on the conversation between dyslexia and mental health and how best we can do to support them both. Throughout this month, we are going to be speaking with incredible people and sharing all their kind of stories and knowledge around dyslexia and also around mental health. So please stay tuned and get involved. With that said, we have an absolute phenomenal guest. We are absolutely thrilled that you can take the time out of your busy day to spend some time with us. We have Dr. Neil Alexander Passe, and he is going to be sharing his thoughts on a couple of matters with regards to dyslexia and mental health. If I could just really briefly just mention Dr. Neil. You're the author of Dyslexia and Mental Health, and you've published, there we go, there's the book. And you've published 10 books, actually, 10 peer review papers on dyslexia and mental health. Now, I'm going to stand out of the way and let you just introduce yourself probably properly and just tell us a little bit about yourself, if that's okay.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. Right, so I am Neil Passe. I am dyslexic myself, so I have been through the journey, and I had all of my research follows my own journey from primary school and struggling with dyslexia, just feeling left out. I didn't feel I fitted in as a child. None of my siblings or my parents are dyslexic themselves. So I with me, I found I was good at one thing at school, or one thing mainly, and that was art. So I went to art college for 5 years, and I trained as a graphic designer, and I worked in design for about 20 years, and then I wanted to be prepared for my own children. So I began to do research into dyslexia, and that's where the journey started to writing and all these books. And yes. All of my books follow a similar journey to myself. So the first one looked at depression. The next one looked at creativity, as I found a lot of creative people within design. And then I was getting married. So there was a book there about dyslexia and marriage and dating and obviously parent and obviously hood, and really I've developed books as per my career. For the last 10 years, I have been a special needs teacher, Senko within many different schools, primary schools, secondary schools. So really, I support parents just as a person who has been through that journey themselves. I've got 4 children, but none of them are dyslexic. So I am unsure if that is a good thing or not. It is a good thing for them, as their schooling was a lot easier. But my relationship to my kids, or whether we've got a similar journey and a similar challenge through our life does differ greatly. But today is talking about mental health, and so I'm happy to answer any questions you've got.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for sharing your vast, your journey and the vast knowledge that you've had. And one of the things that within Succeed is that we're trying to raise awareness around is when we mention the word dyslexia to someone, ultimately they just instantly think, okay, that's just reading and writing. That's just a struggle or a problem, or they can't, or whatever terminology they use. It's just linked with reading and writing. As we know, just by your incredible intro in what you were saying, that it goes a lot deeper, doesn't it? Within this. So what are the difficulties if we were to kind of look at kind of from a children's point of view, I guess, and what are the difficulties that children face in school? What impact does this have on mental health on a child? And these things, with regards to kind of mental health and dyslexia, because what we kind of look at, with regards to dyslexia, kind of self-esteem, the kind of the anxiety, the depression, all these things are kind of, it's like a bubbling pot, isn't it? That needs to be kind of managed in a certain way. Have you had kind of any experience with this, with the research that you've been doing?
Yes, I mean, I've been a co in both, and obviously primary schools and secondary schools. And obviously SENCO is the special needs manager or and obviously coordinator. So it begins really early on. The young dyslexic child isn't obviously diagnosed till much later, sometimes in the secondary school or uni or in the obviously workplace. So it all begins really well. Say that the child will the young toddler will play. They would be really great with building things. However, these difficulties start as soon as they begin in a nursery school. Is because the play, that's great. They're really social and they're playing and they're building and creating. That's great. As soon as they begin to bring in phonics or letters, that is when the problems start, and the child begins to see that their friends get it and they're getting the praise, but they are struggling with the short-term memory. Can they remember those sounds? Can they form those sounds? Can they begin to make sense of what a P just beginning to read words? It's there that they begin to see that they're different, they don't fit in, and they are other. Yeah. And that's where the problems start, and that builds every single year. Every single year, these teachers will praise them, will praise their friends for reading. It's not just putting sounds together, but it's reading words. Can they write? Can they do many things like that? And their short-term memory begins to create problems for them, and that just builds, and they feel that they don't fit in. I mean, myself, as a 7 or 8-year-old child, my mother thought, it could be dyslexia. She went to my head teacher, who said, no, he's fine. I did a basic reading test. He was able to read. But it's far more than that. And you mentioned that. It affects short-term memory. It affects being able to write. It affects balance. It affects so much more. It isn't about reading.
Absolutely. You mentioned about where the child kind of goes into the schooling very early on, and it's almost the imagery that I kind of thought when you mentioned that was they kind of come in and they're kind of level, so to speak. Yes. It starts to surpass, and then you alluded to, or you mentioned, which was rightly so, that
gap grows and grows.
Bigger. And this here, this kind of confidence level built with anxiety. As adults, we feel, I guess, necessarily a little bit anxious going into a packed room sometimes with people or new experiences. But if you're, as a child, think, well, actually, you've got to go back into that environment in the school, and you're already kind of feeling, anxious that you're not, where your peers are, then it's only going to be a lot more difficult for that child to be in that environment, isn't it?
Yes, and that initial trauma is so deep. Is because my late later work is in post traumatic stress disorder, and the trauma from school primary school is huge. Really? In fact, there are parents who will not go into their child's primary school is because everything about it causes them trauma. It's the reoccurring trauma of smelling the floor cleaner, sitting on small chairs, seeing the work being pinned up on walls, going. I mean, one of them told me that their parents went into their primary school and they saw some work, all the work being put up for these class on the walls, and the parent turned around to the teacher and said, that work isn't my child's. And they said, well, your child's work wasn't obviously good enough, so we put up someone else's work and put your name by it. The trauma of those things causes a parent who will go in for their own child to sit and listen to a teacher and that authority. It scares them and they will never return. And there are parents who will never go into school, that they will never see their child in a school play or sort of find out about their schooling, is because they're traumatized about it.
And it's thank you so much for sharing that. And it's just it's truly incredible that this long-term longevity of these actions stay with you into adulthood, and then it just continues.
Yeah.
You know, I can only relate very slightly in the sense of my childhood. Schooling was a little bit more, troubled in that sense. So, but when I went back to my old school to do a school assembly, I can remember walking through the gates and feeling as if, I was 33 at the time, feeling as if I was, 11, 12 years old again, speaking to the headmaster as if I was going to the headmaster's office. So when you were saying those feelings were, kind of going through me, and I can kind of relate, but it goes far deeper than that. And the trauma that we then miss out on an experience like their child's play because they can't go in is devastating, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for me to train as a teacher for someone that hated school and didn't get on at school, who was like the dropout, for me to go in and to train as a teacher about 12 years ago, I put myself into therapy for that, is because I needed to deal with my own demons of going into school. However, I use that in a positive way. As a special needs manager, I relate to parents and I can work with them. It's because I've been through those steps myself, so that trauma can be obviously positive. But many it's a oxymoron. It's a crazy thing of going and working within a school and working in a place that caused that trauma.
That's incredibly fascinating. And when you mentioned that you wanted to go back into the school environment, as a teacher, and then you said that you needed support on this. What was the kind of the process? Not literally the process, but what was the kind of the thought process, I guess, throughout that? Because did you feel at that point, if I'm going to go into this environment, then I do need support, or was it a case of that's what kind of made you go through that process? If you don't mind sharing.
Okay, so my original reason for training as a teacher is because I wanted to work in special needs. I wanted to fix a broken system. It's because my research had shown that. I mean, I am 53, and my research had shown that nothing much had changed. And really, I wanted to go in as a informed person to really affect change. So I needed to overcome my own traumas, it's like facing that. I mean, my wife said, Neil, you were crazy. You're a graphic designer. You work really well in design. Why would you put yourself through that? Why would you go into something that you will struggle with? You will struggle with the short-term memory of, and obviously, teaching, of knowing all these kids' names, of dealing with all the paperwork and the reports. And she said, you're crazy. And I went, well, I faced huge demons in my life. I've done a research master's. I've written a 50,000 word thesis back then in my, I think, 30s. So I was willing to face those traumas to affect change. And now to write books again is a crazy challenge. And my life is about facing those challenges to really affect change. And that works. It works is because it's strange. You work in schools, and every single special needs team I've worked in schools, you have people who are also trying to affect change. There's some link in the learning support teachers or the learning support and obviously assistants. All of them have been, it's a strange word, damaged, but all of them have been obviously affected by special needs in some way, and they want to affect change too.
Well, listening to your story is just truly inspirational, and it will be incredibly, and it has been, truly inspirational to people to see these challenges. And I feel, I don't know if that's a dyslexic mindset, but that drives you to want to make these significant changes. And what's admirable is that you've written about it, and then you said, well, actually, to implement this, I need to make these changes, and then you put yourself through that personal struggle to be able to fulfill that. So that's a lot of admiration there. So it was. How long was that kind of process for of teaching? Training to become.
It's a 1 year PGCE, so it's a postgrad degree, but it really is, yes, you are placed within schools, and I needed to teach and design and technology, as my first degree was graphics. But yes, I mean, you were obviously alluding to certain things there. One of my books, hold on, I have it on the shelf, is looking at successful dyslexics, and one of the things I was comparing those who were successful to those who weren't, and all of them had the successful and the less successful people I was talking about. They all had the same trauma in school. They all felt that they were not diagnosed, or they were not supported. But the ones that succeed in life, they learned early on to be resilient. They learned early on that failure is okay. Failure is okay, and you will learn and move on to it. And if you know that, you will know yourself that your first or second venture may not work, and it's having that resilience to bounce back and to carry on. That is something that many dyslexic people struggle with, because they've never learned to deal with failure. So they fail that first time, and it's huge for them. It's such a trauma for them that they feel burnt. They won't, and obviously carry on. But the dyslexic who learns as a child that you will get things wrong, but still it's that you have to carry on. It's that allows them to be successful post school.
Yeah, and that's really fascinating with regards to the link between successful in that sense. How do we, when we look at say, someone with dyslexia, and that continuous, that aspiration to continue to grow their own knowledge and their own, the position that they're in, and maybe it's a job or something else. How do we avoid the kind of the burnout, and how do we kind of what would you think would be kind of great? Because we got to be mindful about, the continuous stress, I guess, that we, that we put on, and the anxiety. If we're on one aspect, we're thinking, okay, you can get things wrong, and then we're chasing things to get right. But in between that, it's just that mindset of how we handle our own kind of anxiety and stress.
Right. So LMC Blue book was looking for the keys for parents. And one of the things that there were several keys. So the keys of turning that drain of getting everything wrong. I mean, just most kids are used to the odd thing they will get wrong in school. But the dyslexic child will get things wrong in every lesson. Every task is because it's not built for them. School is, they are the round pegged in a square and obviously hole. They don't quite fit in, so they fail a lot. So I tell parents two things. One is, you praise the effort and not the achievement. The praise is, it's not well done, you got an A. It's well done, you worked really hard. It's the effort that you need to praise. It isn't what is, because the achievement, it will come, but it will be slower. So that's key one. The second key is help your child to find something that they're good at. For me, it was art. I couldn't do French. I would go into trances during French lessons, but I found I was good at art, and I was the best in the school. I got the top mark in O levels. So I had my ceramic art in the head teacher's office. I was the best in the school, and the school allowed me the freedom to find what I was good at and then develop that. And parents, the one thing that I tell parents is, help your child to find something they're good at and allow them to obviously develop that. I mean, of the people I was speaking to for that book, some of them were really great at knitting. So they created their own small business, creating knitted wallets that they would sell. Guy and obviously Hans, who I spoke to for the book, he was really good at poker, and playing the stock market. He found his niche, and through finding that niche and something that you're good at, it could be sport, it could be. I mean, my cousin, who is this dyslexic, was amazing at obviously graffiti art. So he's built a career doing graffiti art. He would paint the night club walls. He would paint furniture in a graffiti style. It's about finding something you're good at and then being the best you can. And that means that you may not gain the self-worth at school, but you will outside of school, and that will begin to balance that.
Absolutely, and you're absolutely right, because if we took the school environment, for instance, say that 6 hours of say 9 till 3 in the UK, take out breaks and stuff like this, you're talking say 4.5 hours or something in the school, and that's a long time, 5 days a week, to have a child doing something which they feel that they're not adequate to do as well as their peers. But if you take a subject that they're, actively giving the praise for trying or, contributing or doing that, that will be, that will limit the amount of stress and anxiety, I guess, that child's going through.
Yeah, I mean, I tell teachers to praise the oral feedback within the class as much as a written. Is because you will get teachers who will say you work really well, but you don't put it down on paper, and that's where the block is. That's where the barrier is. And I say, well, then therefore there's a reason for that. Support the child so that they just give them a laptop so that they can type neatly. It's because the amount of work, that written work, just growing up, that the teacher would put a red line through it and say, Neil, it's rushed, it's messy. It's that you did it on the bus. Why should I waste my time marking something where you haven't put in the effort? And I have put in the effort, but it's messy. I've crossed out things. I've made obviously corrections. And I tell the teachers, allow them to type. It allows them to spell check. It allows them to draft, to change words, and then you press print, it comes out perfect, and that is, mark that. Do not mark them on a piece of writing where they've obviously scribbled, because it's not allowing to show their potential. So my work in schools is about removing barriers. If it's about using Dragon and allowing them to speak it, and then it types it for you, great. It's about allowing the kids to show their potential, because as soon as you remove those barriers, then they will shine.
Absolutely. And it's funny, isn't it? Because in some subjects within, say, if we took kind of mathematics, and they gave you a sum, they wouldn't just want the answer. They would like to know how you worked it out. So all the scribblings and everything else that would do. So the workings of your mind of how you got to that end equation. Now, we can in another, say, English or something else that we're doing, if there's, like you mentioned, continuous scribbles and stuff like this, it's deemed as actually, we just want it to look cosmetically pleasing and perfect, to fit that kind of mold. Yeah,
but maths, but I mean, maths is a great point, is because they've tried to make things harder by making word-based questions. So you put in a sentence there, and then the dyslexic will look through the paper, and they will avoid any question where there is words, where there are sentences, because it's too much for them to deal with. And sometimes they are the easiest and obviously questions, but the dyslexic will obviously avoid that. And also I teach maths teachers to use solid objects for a dyslexic child. So allowing to use Lego, or allowing, I mean, this is something that they hate, to use fruit, algebra, and they are told in their teacher training to never use fruit with their maths. However, it makes perfect sense with algebra. 3A, three apples, plus 2B, two bananas, equals what? Because the child who is dyslexic will just do the math, 2 and 3. It makes 5, and then they will guess. Okay, but you can't join things together. So really, I have failed maths in a school. I couldn't get it. But for me to go back to train as a teacher, I needed to redo maths, and I taught myself maths in 2 or 3 months to pass a GCSE. So I moved from a O-level grade E to a GCSE grade B in a few months, because I taught myself the theory using fruit, using visuals. And this is how I teach children. It's about making it visual, making it relevant. And lots of kids turn off school is because it's not relevant. It is like Shakespeare and all the language there. It's not relevant to them. So I tell schools, use graphic novels, because a graphic novel is visual. It is cartoon based. It's short words. It makes sense. It's giving them a visual, and that's brilliant. It removes all those barriers.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I love that analogy you mentioned within. I wasn't aware of that, but I can see how it can definitely be a positive, a positive way of teaching the children, with those objects. If we're talking about positive benefits that come with kind of dyslexia, and being able to kind of manage it, without kind of going down the route of kind of diagnosis in these signs, when we kind of realize, I was diagnosed late, kind of 36, I was diagnosed with dyslexia, and then 37, I think a little bit later with ADHD. Now, once I kind of knew that I had dyslexia, I could kind of understand it a little bit, and then obviously you go off on a journey to understand even more. And I feel I'm learning every single day. What do you reckon that the kind of the positives are of once you know that you have kind of dyslexia, how you can kind of continue to learn and grow for yourself? Okay,
well, I think that, people say that they are relieved when they are diagnosed, is because it gives them a label, it gives them a reason. It means that there is a reason for them to not be, well, till that point, they think that they're stupid. They think that there's something wrong with them. Okay, so the diagnosis gives them a reason for it. It tells them that they're not stupid. It tells them that they can do things, but they just need to learn in a obviously different way. Also, it gives them a way forward. It allows them to know that they need to learn in a certain way, that they are going to be more suited to visual or obviously creative or 3D based work. It's normal if you leave school with very few qualifications that you are told by your careers guidance teacher, go into an office. It's a safe job, it's a safe, easy job for you. You can't get that wrong, Neil. And really, that's the completely wrong place for a dyslexic, is because you're asking them to copy things, data input, to file things, in A to Z. It really is the wrong place for them. So having the awareness of the diagnosis, it then tells you that you should be doing different things. You should work in a warehouse, taking things and just managing staff and or sales, talking, just convincing people, or being creative, developing those creative and visual skills. So really, it's helping you to challenge your careers in a certain direction. But it's the awareness of that which is crucial.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so elegantly put. And thank you so much for sharing that. We're coming up to our end of our time, and it's been absolutely incredible speaking with you. And if people would like to get in contact with you or purchase a book and find out that, the incredible books that you've written, how would people be able to get in touch with yourselves?
Well, they can. There is a website, dyslexia-research.com. There is also all of my books are found on Amazon, so you can find them there. But yes, it's just get in touch. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, and it's very much about contacting me. And I get emails from people on various reasons, on trauma, on difficulties in their marriage, because they're dating someone who is dyslexic, and they are struggling. They are struggling with that, and I support them to gain awareness of what the barriers are. It's because there is a huge amount of avoidance, and that avoidance starts in school. They will avoid tests, they will avoid reading. So there's huge avoidance of going shopping, avoidance of paying bills, of taking messages. So yes, all of that is huge.
Well, I'm absolutely fascinated by everything you share with us today, and we will put all the details of how people can get in touch and obviously purchase the books. And like I said, get in contact with you with this. We will be obviously signposting anyone that would like to know more information about our campaign that we're running for the whole month of May. So please do keep an eye out for us on our websites and on our social channels as well. Dr. Neil, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for helping us raise more awareness around dyslexia and mental health with Succeed with Dyslexia. Take care, and we'll speak to you very soon.
Pleasure. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That brings us to the end of this interview. Throughout the month of May, we've had the awesome opportunity to speak to some incredible people with a focus on the relationship between mental health and dyslexia. Please feel free to click this link here and learn more about Margaret Rook, as she talks about her own experience as an author and some of the things that she's learned in conjunction with mental health and dyslexia. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for watching.